Our final speaker for tonight is Caroline McCrystal, who works in partnerships at TransUnion. And her title is Coming Last. Not intentional that she is our final speaker. But she is a former elite athlete and now Ironman triathlete, and then moved into the corporate world 6 years ago as an account manager at Experian. She then moved on to customer verification consultancy GBG before joining TransUnion in her current role last year. She's been titled the European Women in Sales Awards as the most distinguished saleswoman in Europe, the Middle East and Africa. She is also, just to wrap this up nicely, a co-founder, co-owner, director and executive producer of multiple businesses, but her favourite role is mum to her 13-year-old dog, Ellie. So on that note, Caroline, come on.
Hi, everyone. So, a quick question for everyone. Who is in their Q4 right now? We've got lots of hands ups tonight, so up we go. I feel really guilty speaking tonight, actually. I feel like it's Q4. I should give this 7 minutes back to everyone. I'm sure you got things to do. Just go recoup, breathe. You know, Q4 is hard. And it's tough out there at the moment, especially when sometimes it can feel like everyone is doing better than you. So when I first spoke to James and had to think about what I wanted to talk about tonight, you've heard my introduction. Should I talk about being an elite athlete and that transition into the corporate world? What about the story of being a little girl from Northern Ireland with no opportunity and no prospects, but going on to be named the most distinguished saleswoman in Europe, Middle East and Africa? That is such a mouthful. You've heard the list of accolades there as well, director, co-founder, etc., etc. But those are all talking about successes. And you know, sometimes conferences, keynotes, they can give this image of perfection. It can be really glossy and glamorous, especially whenever it's a women in sales event. But there's something we need to talk about, and that is failure. Would you believe that after winning the Women in Sales Awards, my first interview, I didn't get the job because after a 15-minute interview, they said I wouldn't be any good at sales. What about as a former national champion? Every single Wednesday night, I go to a running club and I come last. We need to talk about failure. I've got my notes up here in case I fail tonight, by the way. That's what I'm looking at. You know, in sales, success and failure, it's pretty black and white actually, isn't it? You've got three numbers. You've got your target, you've got the result, and you've got the gap in between. And that number is what will define whether you are successful or whether you are a failure. That is the measure of you by those on high. In sales, it's relentless. There is always another target. There's always another quarter. There's always another H2. There's always another free YP. It is non-stop. You can go from golden girl to pip in a matter of days, in a matter of numbers in this game. You can close a deal on the last day of Q4 and be the hero. The very next day it's Q1 and that slate is wiped clean. Your success in sales is not infinite, but your failures aren't either. It works both ways, thankfully. Just a little side tangent. If you are going through a season of failure right now, please don't give up. There's something I've always been taught, and it's when you hit rock bottom, stop for a minute, just gather yourself, because there's only one direction to go, and that's up. But it's hard. We're salespeople, aren't we? We know how to be positive, and when we're not positive, we can fake it. We know that it's not just motivation we need. We know it's discipline as well, But I tell you what's really hard when people around you are saying that it's still not good enough. Writing that strategy is not the same as hitting that number. Doing that presentation isn't hitting the number. That pitch isn't hitting a number. The emails, the phone calls, the late nights, the standing on stage is not the same as hitting that number. And if you don't hit the number, failure. We've become hyper-fixated on perfectionism. And in job interviews, I'm sure everyone here has said at one point earlier in their career that they're a perfectionist. But perfectionism does not come from this deep-rooted love of being meticulous and getting things right. It comes from a fear of disappointing people. It comes from a fear of getting it wrong, of making a mistake. It comes from a fear of failure. You know, as human beings, we are programmed to avoid failure. Coming last in nature can sometimes risk survival. But we're also programmed to evolve. And to evolve, you need failure. And to evolve, you need learning. We've become, as we've got older, more and more afraid of being a beginner. When I was a baby and I was learning how to walk, every time I tried to stand up, I'd fall down. Every time we tried to take a step, we'd wobble and we'd crash to the floor. Did I say to myself, or more babble to myself if I was a baby, I wasn't talking to myself, did I say, I'm going to stop now because I'm failing? No, I got up and I walked and I ran and now I can walk in stilettos across the stage. You're not starting from scratch every time you have to start again. You're starting from experience every time you try. I heard a saying actually, it's failure is delay, not defeat. It's a temporary detour, not a dead-end street. And when I first heard that, I was like, oh, that's a good one. I'm going to use that. But actually now, thinking about it and knowing what I know, I disagree with it. It's not a delay. It's not a detour. You are exactly where you are supposed to be right now. Especially as women, we have this timeline set out ahead of us that we're supposed to meet. It's false. It's not true. What is happening is exactly what is supposed to be happening. And that idea in your head of where you're supposed to be right now, it doesn't exist and it will never happen without the failure that you're experiencing throughout it. So tonight, it's Wednesday night, it's a run club night, and someone else tonight is coming last because I'm not there. Someone else is thinking to themselves that they're the slowest, everyone else is better than them, and they're a failure. But they're only the slowest because I'm not there. They're a failure at something other people are not even attempting to achieve. I did Paris Marathon back in April. And for many reasons, I'm going to disclose what I came, and I'm really calling myself out now. I came 49,814th out of 50,870. I pretty much came last. Thank you. But actually, I'm part of that 1% of the globe that will ever do a marathon. And to me, that is a win. And I'm taking what I learned and applying it. And I've got Valencia in 5.5 weeks, and do not see that as overcoming failure. See that as, I've got something loose in my head for that one. But you know, it is all about mindset. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, your head hits that pillow. Dream your dreams all you want, but when you wake, your actions, reactions, your emotions, your feelings, everything you do is all about attitude. And that doesn't mean being positive all the time. Being okay with failure is not the same as settling in comfort and not trying. It's two very different things. And failure can defeat you if you let it. But it can also really inspire you if you allow it to. So don't let it own you, and do not be afraid of it. So I'll leave you with one thought tonight. Fear less about failure. Don't be fearless about failure. It's Q4. We got targets to hit. But fear less. Thank you.